our total cost. And so since I only did these three things, then I would just add these three numbers. So on the packet that I just handed back to you guys and I talked to you guys about, if you did more things, then you'll add up whatever you have in this column. So right now, I'm just going to add these three because that's all I calculated on mine. So let's do that. Let's see if I can find a better calculator. Okay, so I'm going to add my 717.60 to my 383.76 to my 52.50. Okay, so those gave me a grand total of $6,351.36. I'm going to need this in a little bit when we go to do some of the other pages. And this right here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to title it my remodel cost. And I'm mainly doing this for you so when you guys try to do your packet on your own, sorry you can't see that. When you go to do your packet on your own, maybe you can follow along a little bit better if you look back at the sample. So this is how much my remodel cost, but if you guys did extra stuff with your group, you know, if you carpeted bedrooms and you stained the concrete and you put in granite countertops, your remodel cost will be way more than this. So this is all I did. Okay, now I need to know what I increased my home value by. So on my sample packet, the only thing I increased my home value by was this number here for putting in the wood floors, this number here for painting, and this number here for putting in air conditioning. I can't count any of these on my sample packet because I didn't do any of those things. So if this was yours, if you did any of these other things, then you would add which ones you did. Okay, so I'm just doing these three added up because that's all I did on my sample. What would you get if you added those three? That's easy. 10,500. Okay, so 10,500, and this is my improved value. This is what I'm improving my house value by, is 10,500. But a lot of you in here did more than that. You guys did some of the extra credit items, so your improved value will be more than this. So it just depends on what you did. Okay, so when you go to find your improved value, you're going to add up the ones that you actually calculated. So if you carpeted bedrooms, you'd add on another $500. You know, if you did carpeting bedrooms and stained concrete, you'll add another $1,000. But you only get to add the numbers that you actually did. Okay? Okay, so that's that for that page. All right, now we move on. And we have a bunch of things that happened here. Okay, I'm going to start, this is our oops page, and I'm going to start with the 20% one that we had because the first scenario is 20%, the second scenario was 30%, and the third scenario was 40%. So let's just read what happened with the 20% one. It says, good news, your AC didn't need replaced after all, so you can afford to stage the home during the open house. So you don't have to flip back to this. But in this scenario, I didn't end up having to replace the air conditioning, so that's going to save me $5,250 in this scenario here. So it says that I didn't have to replace it, so I'm going to stage my home instead, and it makes the home more appealing to buyers, and it's going to cost me $500 to stage the house, but it's going to allow me to raise my sale price by $5,000. So I'm going to need all of that for my 20% thing. Okay, so here we go with the realistic budget. This is going to come from page 2. So I'm just going to make a note. So when you guys go to do yours, you'll kind of know where to go. So I'm going to go back to page 2, and I'm going to write down the realistic budget that I had for all three scenarios. Okay, so going back to page 2, I'm looking for my realistic budget. And that was these numbers over here. See where it says realistic budget? So I need to copy those three numbers down in my chart. So 5807.20. Okay, the other one, 16207.80. Let me make this a little bigger. Is that better? Okay, and then the third one is $26,608.40. Okay, so when you go to do your own, these numbers will come from your page 2 where it says realistic budget. So yours is going to be quite different than this, but you'll do it like how I'm doing it. Okay, the remodel cost. This is going to come from page 3, the page that we just got done looking at. So I'm just going to make a note that this is going to come from page 3, the remodel cost. So with my sample, I only did these 3 things, so that's when I added those 3, and this is my remodel cost. Your remodel cost will be different than this, of course, because you have different numbers that you're working with. Plus, if you did any of the extra credit items, then that's going to make your remodel cost even more. Okay, so my remodel cost is the $6,351.36. 6,351.36. 6,300. Oh no, I already forgot. 51.36. And that was my remodel cost, and that's the remodel cost for all the scenarios. So depending on how much you did on that page, your remodel cost may be much, much higher than that. Okay, this gets us to the first thing on our formula chart. So the adjusted remodel cost. So first, let's look at the 20% plan. The 20% plan, I'm going to take my remodel cost, and I'm going to go ahead and show you the work for this. So what's the remodel cost? The 6,351.36. Okay, so I'm going to call it ARC, and this is for the 20%. So this is the adjusted remodel cost for the 20%, and it tells us on the formula chart to take the remodel cost. My remodel cost is the 6,351.36, and then it says to subtract the AC cost. And the reason I can subtract the AC cost is because up here in the oops, it said that I didn't end up having to replace my air conditioning. And so since I didn't have to replace the air conditioning, I don't have to spend this amount right here on air conditioning. So in the 20%, since I don't have to replace the air conditioning, I don't have to spend this money. So I'm going to subtract this. So 5,250. Okay, so minus 5,250. Okay, so this is how much I plan for remodeling. I don't have to spend this on the air conditioner because it didn't end up breaking, but I did spend something else. Up here it tells us in the reading that we decided to stage the home, and staging the home costs $500. So I do have another expense of staging the home, so I need to add in another $500 here. So does this part right here make sense to you? My adjusted remodel cost. This is how much I was planning on spending to remodel. I take this away because I don't have to fix the air conditioner, and then I add the $500 because I'm going to stage the home, and that costs $500. Mickey, you paying attention?
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. Don't lie to me. Okay, so we need to calculate this. 6,351.36 minus, you know why I ask those questions? I want to see who's going to be honest with me and who's not. And almost everybody always lies to me.
I'll tell you if I'm not listening.
Okay, so $1,601.36. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the 30%. So let's read what's happening with the 30%. So in the 30% reading, it says we have a flood in the kitchen on the 30% revenue. Oh no. Overnight, a pipe busted in the kitchen and flooded the room, ruining the cabinets. You must replace the cabinets, and while fixing the pipe, they determine that all of the pipes must be replaced. This is going to cost you $25,000, and it's only going to increase my home value by $5,000. Okay, so in the 30% plan, I'm going to have to spend another $25,000 on fixing the cabinets and the pipes. So these things do happen sometimes. And of course, this is all fake, but it's kind of fun. Okay, so in the 30% plan, I kind of already put that on your formula sheet. we're going to take our remodel cost, and our remodel cost is the same, the $6,351.36. But I'm not going to take away the air conditioning because they don't say anything about, oh, you don't need to replace the air conditioning. So I'm not going to take away that air conditioning amount. So this is with the air conditioner included. And I need to add in the $25,000 they set up above I'm going to have to spend on fixing the cabinets and the pipes. So this is from the previous page, everything I was planning on doing, plus fixing the cabinets and the pipes. Okay, so $6,351.36 plus $25,000. And that makes this remodel $31,351.36. And some of yours will be even more than this because you would have done some of the extra credit items, which costs even more money. Okay, then I've got my 40%. So let's look up here in the 40% reading. Okay, so 40%. It says cracking foundation on the 40% revenue. Ouch! You discovered a huge crack in your foundation when removing the old flooring. You had to have a foundation company come out. They determined that the foundation must be leveled. It will cost you $35,000 to have it leveled and to fix all of the cracks. But the value of the home doesn't increase. So I don't get any extra value out of the house for doing this, but it's something that I have to do, and it's going to cost me $35,000. Okay, so if I look at the 40%, I take my remodel cost, which is still the $6,351.36. That's what the air conditioner included in there. I don't have to take that away. Plus, I spent $35,000 for foundation issues. Okay, so let's calculate that. So I'm going to take my $6,351.36 and add $35,000 to it. And that's $41,351.36. Questions so far? You with me? Okay, next thing is the money left over. Okay, the money left over, we have a formula for that. Oh, did I not put it? Oh, there it is. The money left over, it says take the realistic budget and subtract the adjusted remodel cost. So I'm going to take my realistic budget, this number right here, and I'm going to subtract the adjusted remodel cost. Do you want me to show my work on that? Or do you think this one's easy enough to just follow the formula on the paper?
It's easy.
It's easy enough to just do it? Okay. So for money left over, I'm going to take the realistic budget. So for the first scenario, it's $5,807.20. And then it says subtract the adjusted remodel cost. Okay, so I'm going to subtract the adjusted remodel cost, which is $1,601.36. And that gives me $4,205.84. See if you can calculate the next one. I'll see if we get the same thing. Follow the formula on the little paper. So you're following this formula for money left over, realistic budget minus adjusted remodel cost. Do you have it? Did you get this? Okay, so this means we don't have any money left over. We are in the hole. We are $15,000, etc., in the hole. So we've spent way more here than we had planned on spending. So we are upside down. We are in the hole. Okay, try the third one. Let's see if you get the right answer. So just do what your paper tells you. Okay, and did you get this? Okay, so we've spent way too much money on this scenario as well, and we are in the hole once again. So the only one I actually have money left over on so far is the 20% plan, but the 30% plan I had that $25,000 extra cost with the cabinets and piping. And then the 40% plan, I had that extra $35,000 that I had to pay because of foundation issues. So that's why. Okay, contingency. This comes from page 2. We've actually already calculated this. So I'm going to go back to page 2, and I'm going to find my contingency column, and I'm going to write those numbers down that we had already calculated. So if I go back to page 2, I look right here in my contingency, and I'm going to write these numbers down. Can you guys tell me what I will write down? What's the first one?
1,004.8.
Okay. How about the next one? Somebody different than Masha. 60.20. Okay, and the third one? How about a different group altogether?
4,695.60.
695.60? Okay. So when you go to do yours, this isn't anything new you have to calculate. You're just going to go to page 2. This is our contingency fund. This is money that we set aside just for an oops kind of situation. Oh, you need to get this done, or you need to fix this, or, we just try to save some money aside. So this is what we had saved aside before. Okay, so now we have our final money carried over. And I do have a formula here. So it says your final money carried over is going to be your leftover money plus contingency. So leftover money plus contingency. Are we okay if I just add it and not show the work?
Yep.
Okay, so leftover money, $4,205.84 plus contingency, $1,024.8. And I have this much money left over, $5,230.64. Okay, the other one, I'm going to take negative $15,143.56 and add that to my $2,860.20. So still in the hole because I didn't save enough money for that big oops situation. So we're just going to have to sell this house for more money than we originally had planned. So plus $4,695.60, or just take a big loss. Okay, and this one, negative $10,047.36. Okay, so this is how much money I have that's going to carry over. So the only one I actually have money still on is the 20% plan. I'm way in the hole on the other two plans. Okay, how do you feel about this page? Feel like you'll be able to duplicate it with your group tomorrow? Okay, let's flip. Purchase price. This is the cost of the house. And this comes from your very first page. So this isn't anything new that you have to calculate. So this is going to come from the cost of the house from page 1. And if I look on mine, I bought my house for $140,000, but yours is going to be different when you do it with your group. So I'm going to put $140,000 on all of mine. And your house cost you something else, so you will have a different number. Okay, this one right here, the initial realistic sales price. I don't have to do anything for this either. We've already calculated this. This is from page 2. So I'm going to go to page 2 and I'm going to look at my initial realistic sales price. Where is it? Okay, and that's these guys right here. So if I look for my initial realistic sales price, I'm going to write these numbers down from this column. So that's what you'll do with your own packet. So $159,600. Can somebody tell me what the next number was?
$172,900.
Good, $172,900. Okay, how about the next one? $186 what? $200. Okay. So that's nothing new. You already have these calculations. Okay, the new realistic sales price, we do have a formula for this. So let's look to see what it says. So the new realistic sales price. it says to take the initial realistic sales price plus the improved value. And I am going to show you some work on this because it's not quite so cut and dry as what you see right here. So I'm going to take the initial realistic sales price plus improved value. So let's look. So I'm going to call it new realistic sales price and 20%. Okay, first thing it told me to do was to take the initial realistic sales price. So I'm going to take this initial realistic sales price, the $159,600, and then it says to add on to that my improved value. So the improved value is going to come from page 3 and the OOPS page. So these are my notes to you to help you when you do it with your group. So my improved value is going to come from page 3 and the OOPS page. So let's look. Page 3. This is the 20% plan. Did I end up having to do all of these with the 20% plan? No. Which one did I not have to do? I didn't have to do air conditioning, and that was because the OOPS page said that, hey, in the 20% plan you don't have to do air conditioning. So my improved value, that's these guys. These are the improved values over here, what you're increasing your house value by. So with the 20% plan, I only increased it by these two numbers. Now, for you guys, when you go to do yours, you won't have this because I imagine your page is the same. But if you did any of these others, you would add these on as well. Okay? But in my sample one, the only two things that I did because I didn't have to do air conditioning is these two. So how much does that make if you add those two? Okay, $5,500. But be careful when you do yours, because some of you did the extra credit options, and you'll need to add those increased values too. Okay, in the OOPS page, in the 20% plan, I did stage the house, which cost me money, but it said that that allowed me to raise my sales price by $5,000. So I need to include another $5,000 in that, because that was in the OOPS page. So staging the house increased my house by another $5,000. Okay, so let's add those numbers together. So $159,600 plus $5,500 plus $5,000. Okay, and that makes my new realistic sales price $170,100. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the 30% plan. Okay, so the 30% plan, I still am looking at my formula chart. It says take initial realistic sales price. So my initial realistic sales price for the 30% plan was $172,900. Plus, I need to go back to page 3 in the OOPS page. So on page 3, I'm going to add these three numbers because I did have to replace the air conditioning. And so if it's yours, you may have to add some of these. What would I get if I added these three right here? Okay, $10,500. And then let's look at the OOPS page and see if I got to increase my value on the OOPS page. So on the 30% revenue plan, I did have to spend $25,000 fixing cabinets and the pipes, but it said that that was going to increase my home value by $5,000. So I get to add another $5,000 to this. Okay, so let's add those numbers. So $172,900 plus $10,500 plus $5,000. Sorry, you can't see that. So that's $188,400. Okay, and now I need to do my 40% plan. Okay, so 40%. The formula sheet says take initial realistic sales price. So my initial realistic sales price is the $186,200. And then I'm going to add on to that from page 3 in the OOPS page. Okay, so page 3, I did all of these. And what's that number again? $10,500. And then on the OOPS page, let's look at the OOPS page and see if I got to increase my house by some more. Did I get to increase my house by some more on the 40% plan? No. I spent $35,000 fixing foundation, but it says it doesn't increase the house value at all, so I don't get to add anything else there. So this is all I get to add for my 40% plan. So I'm going to take the 186,200 and add on the 10,500. So that's 196,700. Okay, I think we can get through the fees / closing today, and then we'll have to finish up the other two tomorrow. Okay, fees / closing. Do you remember before when we calculated this, it said that typically you spend 8% in fees and closing costs? So that's where this 0.08 comes from. So I'm going to take my new realistic sales price, and I'm going to take it times 0.08. So these are my new realistic sales price numbers. I'm going to take all three of these times 0.08, just like the formula sheet says. So I'm going to start with the 170, 100. And I'm going to take that times 0.08, and that means I have to spend this much in fees and closing costs for the 20% plan. Okay, I'm going to take my second realistic sales price, take it times 0.08. This is 8% typically for fees and closing. So this is how much I have to pay in fees and closing for the 30% plan. Okay, 40% plan, I take 196,700, take that times 0.08. That makes 15,736. Ooh, I so wanted to finish this today. Okay, I just don't have time. But I can finish these next two columns tomorrow, and then you guys can try to work with your group. If some of you made mistakes, though, you need to get those mistakes fixed before you can start this with your group.
Miss, what do you want me to do?
Does it work? Yeah. Yeah, if you can do that, that would be awesome.
We're not doing anything in fire related.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be excellent. Okay, so hang on to this. We'll finish this part tomorrow.